Hello, everybody. My name is Catherine Long. That's Long. No, it's not real long, but it is long. And it's great to be here. I love to be with my fellow students of Science of Mind, and I'm just really glad to be here. You know, there was a gentleman, a salesman, that was driving in a remote area of, I don't know, it was Arizona or someplace, and his car broke down. And luckily for him, not too far away was a small town that he could walk to, so he proceeded to walk. He wasn't out of gas, the battery was okay, but the car wouldn't start. So he moved on, and he needed to get to where he was going fairly urgently. So he walked himself into town, and he got in there, and it was a very small town. As he walked in, there was a little sign there, and it said population 52. And it was Sunday. As he was walking down the main street, there really wasn't anything open or anybody even really around. And so he goes to the closest place where he thinks there might be people, and guess what? That would be a church. It's a mission, actually. And he walks in. It's just afternoon, and there is a spiritual leader of some sort there. And kind of picking up a little bit afterwards around the chairs and that sort of thing. And he goes up to him and he's like, oh man, I need some help here. I need to get to just over the hill over there, over the mountain there, and get to my locations because I have this really important sales event, and I have to do it. I got to do it. And they have several conversations, and he's like, well, there's no place to rent a car. The mechanic is like on vacation. It's just not going to happen. And he's like, well, any form of transportation. And he says, well, I have a horse. It's like, a horse? And he goes, well, a horse. Do you know how to ride a horse? And the salesman said, you know what? I have rode a horse, and it'd kind of be fun. Yeah, I could do that. He's like, okay, well, this is a particular horse, the father or this spiritual leader says. It's a particular horse. There's a couple of commands you need to know. The horse will only go if you say, thank God. And the horse will only stop if you say, amen. And he's like, well, that can't be a big problem, right? So he goes out, he checks out the horse, and they make an agreement. He hands over his car keys, and he gets the horse. He takes it out for a little test drive. He's like, this is fine. This will work just fine. Off he goes. Thank God, thank God, thank God. He's moving. He's trucking. He's getting on his way. Well, he's not trucking. He's horsing. He's moving, you know. He's getting to his destination. Isn't too far out, so it's not too bad. And the horse is strong, huffing and moving and going, and he's feeling, I don't know, just pretty good about it. You know, he's going to make his destination and get done what he needs to get done, and so kind of works out that things got there for him. Pretty soon he comes to the crest of this top of this hill. It's a little bit foggy out, but it's not bad. He can see pretty clearly. But as he keeps climbing that mountain, it gets a little foggier, and pretty soon, he comes to this place where it's pretty foggy, but he's moving, he's clipping along pretty good. He's like kind of looking around, and all of a sudden he sees this clearing. As he gets up there and he's looking, he's like, oh, it's the edge of the cliff, right? So he's like, stop, whoa, stop. And the horse is moving. I mean, the horse is going. He's like, oh, there's a special word. Oh, what was it? Stop. Oh, amen. And the horse stops. I mean, just like right there, right? And there's this big drop off. He goes, oh, thank God. So my talk title this evening is Loving Kindness is Good, good for those giving it and those for receiving it. And so do you remember a time that you gave loving kindness to somebody, a kind word, a gentle look, an acknowledgement, just kindness, loving kindness. I know everybody here knows what that is, and I know everybody here has done that. And how good it is to receive that loving kindness as well, to be in some place. I'm thinking of my own life, where I had some particular challenges, and I was coming out of a surgical procedure, and when I opened my eyes, my very best friend was sitting right there. And as soon as I opened my eyes, she looked into my eyes. And just that alone touched my heart, gave me a sense of somebody cared and that I belonged and I was connected to something. And for me, that experience of being with another person as a practitioner and sitting with them and listening to them, really listening to them, so they felt like they've been gotten, that they've been heard, that's loving kindness. That's what I'm called here to do. And that's what I'm kind of asking you to think about in your own lives. I know that you reach out and you touch people with loving kindness all the time, because that's what we're here for. I mean, we're all here doing this training, and that's who we are. It's a part of the aspect of who we are. So I have this wonderful story about Sally and Millie. And Sally is an elderly woman in a nursing home, and she hasn't been visited by her family for quite some time. She's stopped eating. She doesn't talk to anybody anymore. And she's lonesome. And the nursing staff around her, they're just very busy, and they just don't have that much time to spend with her. They have their hands full of lots of other people that are actually demanding time. So Sally sits in her room pretty much lethargic and depressed. She doesn't sleep well. She's not hungry. She doesn't want to eat. And Millie, quite a gal, she goes around to different schools and homeless shelters and different hospitals and things like that. And she hangs out with these people, She hangs out, she goes and provides them with clothing or has conversations with them. And she loves doing this. It just fills her heart. It touches her soul. It's what her life is all about. She loves it. It's what she wants to do. It's what she wakes up for. It's what gets her out of bed. And she and Millie and Sally meet at this nursing home. And what's really great is that she sits down, she talks to Sally, tries to have some conversation. Of course, Sally doesn't want to talk, and she doesn't want to do any of this stuff. But as Millie continues to spend time with her, one day she comes in, she says, "Well, do you like ice cream?" And Millie's like, "Well, yeah, I like to do some ice cream." Who can't? And so something begins to happen. There's some loving kindness that begins to happen there, that Sally brings in the ice cream, sits down, spends time, or Millie spends time with Sally. Their names are kind of close there. But the thing is they spend time together, and and Millie is just being very loving, and this is what she wants to do. So this is, a part of our lives. I mean, and who she's affecting and who she's touching and who she's caring for isn't just them, but herself, right? Because there is that thing about oneness. So Sally begins to eat a little bit. She gets a little bit of energy from that ice cream, and she begins to eat. And then she begins to share. Some of that sharing is sadness, right? Her family doesn't visit her anymore. And Millie listens to her and talks to her, and pretty soon she's talking. And she's sharing about those qualities of her life. And now this woman is dying. And so she has the opportunity to express those things in her life that are sad and those things in her life that have given her great joy. It's a wonderful story. Piero Ferrucci, author of The Power of Kindness, says this: "Scientific research confirms it, that kind people are healthier and live longer and are more popular and productive, have greater success in business, and are happier than others." So surely when we're practicing loving kindness, that's who we're being. It's what we are. I mean, we can't be loving and kindness and mean and gruff too, right? It's going to be, that's who, for instance, Millie was being. It was her life. It was what was showing up. It was who she was being. So when we're being that loving kindness, that's what we're being. And I think we could cause world peace that way if we were all being loving kindness. And that loving kindness starts with me. And it starts here, and it starts with you. It starts by looking at you while I'm talking and speaking to you and getting out of my own way. Loving kindness is, I believe, a spiritual practice. It takes being present in the moment. It takes being with one another. It takes opening up and being sometimes tenderized. It's showing kind of the underbelly of, showing the tender side of my underbelly or whatever, you know what I mean. But it's being vulnerable. It's being willing to be in that kind of place. So I enjoyed this book that I read that was on willingness, and it was a class book, but I really did like it very much, so I continued to participate in and read it. Ferrucci goes on to say that depression and panic attacks are linked to the lack of warmth and of reassuring protective community and a weakened sense of belonging. Well, I have to tell you, I never belonged anywhere until I came to Science of Mind. And I sat a couple of rows back in the front seat, and I cried because it was the first time I ever belonged to anything, ever. We moved around a lot as a family unit, and church was not something that I did because I didn't want to walk into some place and already be a sinner. So I didn't try that even. I just said, no, I'm not going there. So belonging to a community, this community of being a student with all the students here, belonging, the tender, loving care that comes out of that, of being able to be here and to know that I'm cared for and loved, and that I can love and care for others. This is a really good time right now, actually, to practice a little loving kindness. And even though I've kind of heard these words already this evening, we're going to hear them again. This is a good time right now. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Staying seated where you are to the closest person next to you, if you would find who that person is. And this will only take a moment. When you find who that person is, look into their eyes. Look into their eyes. Take a moment. Take a breath. And repeat after me. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. A simple practice of loving kindness. Looking into the eyes of God. Really seeing one another. Really being with one another. You know, you could be walking in line, getting in line in the grocery store, and have the opportunity right there, right in front of you, or behind you. Wow. Hello, how are you today? That might be exactly what that person needs that day. And you never know, you could be standing in that same line, somebody could be saying the same thing to you. How are you doing today? I'd be like, I really needed a shift. Thank you for caring. The simplest little things. Simple, simple, simple. Just passing by somebody as you're walking on the street. You ever notice anymore? You get on the elevator, out comes the smartphones. It's kind of a weird thing for me. I work in an IT operation, and I get on the elevator, and that's what I see. Everybody's on their cell phone. It's just like this. Nobody's looking at me. It's like, and I get uncomfortable. I'm like, well, gosh, if they're doing this, I'm going to do this too. But I'm called sometimes to put it away and just kind of look around. Yeah, y'all plugging away on your cell phones, and I'm going to look at you anyway. I guess I'm a rebel. Dr. Ernest Holmes states, God is life, not some of it, but all of it. God is action, not some action, but all action. God is pure spirit filling all space. This pure spirit animates your very action. So I got another story. I had a wonderful cousin. His name was Mike. And my Aunt Beverly, who was a little off the wall sometimes. I don't know. She might have done some of that, LSD or stuff way back in the 60s. But she was very creative and a very interesting person. And she had this pet cactus. And my cousin Mike would always tease the cactus, because she said it was alive and it was caring and feeling, and he would just like thump the cactus when he'd go by it. And she'd be like, it's really a caring being, and you're doing that. And after a while, when he'd walk by this cactus, when he started to get close to it, it would throw needles at him and stick him. Right? I was like, wow. So even plants, these wonderful little plants up here, these little beauties, love loving kindness. So it's a quick story, but I mean, really, right? You walk by this cactus, and he was teasing the cactus. He was kind of a teasy kind of guy, too. And he would thump it, and he would walk by, you'd get close to it, and it actually started throwing cactus needles at him. Yeah, isn't that something? True kindness, says Faruski, is a strong, genuine, warm way of being. It's a simple and a way of making less effort. It is the most economic attitude there is, because it saves us much energy that might otherwise be wasted in suspicion, worry, resentment, manipulation, or unnecessary defense. Yeah, so if I'm being loving kindness, that's where my energy is. It's on loving kindness. It's on what wonderful way can I be with people? What can I do? And how can I also be a part of that? What can I give? And also in that loving kindness, it's like, man, there's a world full of people, hello, that also want to be very loving and kind to me. So it's also me opening up to that and allowing that loving kindness in my heart, allowing myself to be filled up with joy and with love. Yeah, it works both ways, right? According to Christian Larson in The Pathway of Roses, not a single good deed can be lost. Somewhere it will bless somebody. Being loving kindness, connecting, belonging, oneness. You can't lose any of that. When I am being loving and kind, and when you're being loving and kind, that much more is worldwide. It's more all over the planet, whether it's plants or animals or whatever that is. We're, again, causing world peace. There's loving kindness happening. So that could be like a habit, right? A habit that can cause world peace. We all know about the warring. We all know about that. We hear about that, and that isn't resolving anything. So I say, tip it. Let's all just have a big loving kindness fest. For many reasons, we don't risk expressing our most intimate and tender aspects. And I think, again, it was kind of introduced from the revolution, from the industrial age. We also have, cell phones, and we have web access, and Lots of folks aren't hanging out together in many ways as they used to. So we don't have as many sometimes opportunities to do that. But you know what? Technology is coming around, so we can now also send emails that say, I love you. But there's something about getting a card or a letter that says that, right? Some special little, you go to the mailbox, open it up, there's this, pretty pink little envelope with your name on it that somebody's written. You open it up and they're just like, I was thinking of you and I want you to know. And you can get that in an email too, but that card is something special. It's kind of nice. So, another quote. I know I did a lot of quotes online here. Kindness itself might seem lightweight, and yet it is a central factor in our lives that has surprising power in transforming us, perhaps more than any other attitude or technique. It is like an E equals MC squared of the Spirit, a universal spirit that can, should have brought my glasses, they're on my head, I know. But I'm going to squint and try here. They can have an enormous potential for all good and cuts through all dogma. So loving kindness can be done anywhere, in any community, it can be a Christian, Baptist, it could be any language, it could be anywhere. I mean, a smile is a smile, right? It doesn't matter where you are. Looking somebody in the eye, it doesn't matter where you are. It can be done anywhere. So that's what I'm going to say is, in my closing, is my challenge to you this week is to be conscious of where we're being loving kindness, where we can be more about loving and kindness. And just to pay attention in our world, how much that actually is out there already going on, because there really is a lot of it, or we wouldn't be here on the planet, right? Truly. So that's my challenge for you today. Just let your hearts open up. Allow loving and kindness in. Express it more. Be who you are, your true nature. Cause peace in the world. Namaste. Thank you.